Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they choose comfort over courage. Comfort feels good in the moment. It feels familiar, predictable, safe. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because while you're settling into what's easy, life is silently passing you by. Dreams don't disappear overnight. They fade slowly, one comfortable decision at a time, one excuse, one I'll do it later, one moment where staying the same feels less painful than changing. Comfort feels safe on the surface. It feels like relief, like certainty, like control in a world that constantly demands more from you. It whispers that you've earned rest, that pushing harder can wait, that tomorrow will be a better time to change. And in small doses, comfort isn't the enemy. The danger begins when comfort becomes a lifestyle, when safety becomes a substitute for growth, and when familiarity replaces purpose. Because the moment comfort becomes your priority, progress quietly steps aside. Most people don't realize that comfort is not neutral. It doesn't just keep you where you are, it slowly pulls you backward. While you're choosing what's easy, the world keeps moving. Skills get outdated, opportunities pass, confidence erodes, and without realizing it, you begin to shrink your goals to match your habits instead of expanding your habits to match your dreams. Comfort rewards you with temporary peace while stealing your long-term power. Strength is built under resistance. Muscles grow when they are torn and rebuilt. Character is formed when you are tested. Confidence is created when you do something difficult and survive it. Comfort offers none of that. It offers predictability, but predictability does not prepare you for life's demands. When challenges inevitably arrive, the comfortable mind panics because it has never trained itself to endure pressure, uncertainty, or discomfort. What once felt safe becomes fragile. Staying comfortable also reshapes how you see yourself. Every time you avoid a challenge, you send yourself a message that you are not capable. Every time you settle, you reinforce the belief that more is for other people. Over time, this internal dialogue becomes your identity. You stop asking what you want and start asking what feels manageable. You stop pursuing growth and start negotiating with your potential. What's tragic is that comfort often disguises itself as responsibility. People say they are being realistic, patient, or practical, when in truth they are afraid of stretching beyond what they know. Fear rarely announces itself loudly. It shows up quietly as routine, excuses, and delay. And because comfort doesn't hurt immediately, it feels harmless. But years later, when someone looks back and wonders why they feel unfulfilled, disconnected, or stuck, the answer is almost always the same. They stayed comfortable for too long. Growth demands friction. It demands that you step into moments where you feel unprepared, exposed, and uncertain. That discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are expanding. The very feelings people avoid are the feelings that shape resilience, clarity, and purpose. Comfort keeps you alive, but discomfort teaches you how to live, how to stretch, how to discover what you're truly capable of, and how to step into the version of yourself that only exists beyond what feels safe right now. Staying comfortable always feels like the safer choice, but safety has a price tag that most people never calculate. It doesn't show up immediately, and that's why it's so deceptive. The cost is hidden in time, in missed chances, in quiet dissatisfaction that slowly becomes normal. When you choose comfort, you're not just choosing ease in the present moment, you're agreeing to pay for it later with interest. And by the time the bill arrives, years may have already passed. Every comfortable decision compounds. One skipped effort turns into a habit of avoidance. One postponed risk turns into a pattern of delay. Slowly, your world becomes smaller, not because life is limiting you, but because you've limited yourself. You stop exploring what's possible and start defending what's familiar. Opportunities don't disappear, but your willingness to step into them does. And when opportunity meets hesitation, opportunity always moves on. The cost of staying comfortable shows up in lost confidence. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you earn through action. Each time you push past resistance, you build proof that you can handle more. Each time you stay comfortable, you remove that proof. Over time, doubt grows stronger, not because you're weak, but because you've stopped giving yourself evidence of strength. You begin to question your abilities, not realizing that your abilities have simply gone untested. It also costs you clarity. Discomfort forces decision. It reveals what matters and what doesn't. Comfort blurs that clarity. When everything feels easy enough, urgency disappears. Without urgency, passion fades. You wake up busy, but not fulfilled, active, but not alive. You confuse movement with progress, routine with purpose. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to remember what you actually want. Perhaps the greatest cost is the erosion of self-respect. Deep down, you know when you're playing small. You feel it in moments of silence, when distractions fade and truth gets loud. You know there's more in you, more you could give, more you could become. And every time you ignore that voice, it weakens your trust in yourself. Not all pain comes from failure. Some of the deepest pain comes from knowing you didn't try. What makes this cost so dangerous is that it feels reasonable. Society praises stability, routine, and caution. But growth has never been comfortable. Progress has never been convenient. Every breakthrough in your life will demand that you trade temporary ease for long-term expansion. Comfort will always ask you to settle. Growth will always ask you to risk. One keeps you protected, the other sets you free. And in the end, the real question isn't whether staying comfortable feels good today, but whether you're willing to pay its price tomorrow. Fear is rarely obvious. It doesn't always show up as panic, doubt, or anxiety. More often, it wears a much more acceptable mask. It calls itself stability. It introduces itself as routine. It pretends to be logic, caution, or patience. And because it sounds reasonable, most people never challenge it. They believe they are making smart choices, when in reality they are simply protecting themselves from the discomfort of the unknown. Fear knows that if it announced itself clearly, you would confront it. So instead, it blends into your daily life. It encourages you to stick with what you already know, to repeat what has worked before, to avoid situations where you might fail or feel exposed. It convinces you that consistency is the same as growth, and that staying busy is the same as moving forward. Over time, your world becomes predictable, controlled, and emotionally flat. And fear calls this success. The problem is that fear thrives on sameness. The more you repeat the same patterns, the stronger fear becomes. Each day you choose familiarity over challenge, fear gains more influence over your decisions. It shapes how you see yourself, what you believe you deserve, and how much you think you can handle. Eventually, you don't even notice its presence. You simply assume that this is who you are, and this is as far as you can go. Fear also distorts time. It makes you believe that waiting is wise, that preparation must come before action, that someday will arrive when conditions are perfect. But someday is fear's favorite word. It keeps you suspended in planning mode, thinking instead of doing, dreaming instead of building. While you wait, life continues. Other people move forward, not because they are braver, but because they are willing to act while afraid. What makes fear's disguise so effective is that it often looks like responsibility. People say they have obligations, expectations, or limitations, and while those things are real, fear uses them as shields. It amplifies risks and minimizes rewards. It convinces you that failure would be catastrophic and success uncertain. And because the discomfort of growth feels immediate, while the pain of staying the same feels distant, fear wins the argument. But fear loses its power the moment it is exposed. Stability is not the same as stagnation. Routine is not the same as purpose. Safety is not the same as fulfillment. The very things fear pushes you toward are the things that slowly drain your sense of aliveness. Growth doesn't eliminate fear, it reveals it. The first step beyond routine always feels unstable because it challenges the identity Fear has built for you. That instability is not danger, it is expansion. Fear wants you to believe that stepping outside what's known will cost you everything, when in truth, staying inside it is what costs you your future, your passion, and the deeper version of yourself that only emerges when you stop letting fear make your decisions. Growth never announces itself with comfort. It begins the moment you step into uncertainty, when your heart beats faster and your mind searches for reasons to turn back. That feeling of resistance is not a warning sign, it is an invitation. It signals that you are standing at the edge of something new, something that demands more from you than you have been giving. Discomfort is the doorway, and growth lives on the other side of it. Every meaningful change in life starts with unease. The first time you challenge an old belief, push beyond a familiar limit, or take responsibility for a bigger vision, it feels awkward and unsettling. That discomfort exists because your current identity is being stretched. You are asking yourself to operate at a higher level, and the mind naturally resists what it does not yet recognize as safe. But safety has never been the purpose of growth. Expansion requires tension, just like a muscle needs resistance to become stronger. Most people wait for confidence before they act, but confidence is not a prerequisite for growth. It is a byproduct of it. The willingness to step forward while feeling unready is what creates belief in yourself. Each time you endure discomfort and survive it, your threshold for challenge increases. What once felt intimidating becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes familiar. Discomfort is temporary, but the strength it builds stays with you. The moment you avoid discomfort, growth stops. You may stay busy, productive, and occupied, but without challenge, you remain unchan. GED. Comfort preserves who you are. Discomfort transforms who you become. This is why people can work hard for years and still feel stuck. Effort without stretch does not create evolution. Growth demands that you enter spaces where outcomes are uncertain and results are not guaranteed. Discomfort also sharpens clarity. When you are challenged, distractions fall away. You are forced to focus, to adapt, to learn quickly. You discover what truly matters and what no longer serves you. In these moments, you meet parts of yourself that routine never reveals. Courage, resilience, creativity, and determination emerge only when they are required. Comfort never requires them, so they remain dormant. Choosing discomfort is not about reckless risk or constant struggle. It is about conscious expansion. It is about recognizing that the uneasy feeling you are avoiding is often the very thing that will move your life forward. Growth does not come from dramatic leaps every day. It comes from small, consistent decisions to lean into what challenges you instead of retreating to what feels easy. The irony is that discomfort leads to freedom. What feels hard now creates ease later. What feels challenging now creates confidence later. The pain of growth is temporary, but the pain of staying the same is ongoing. When you embrace discomfort, you stop asking for life to be easier and start becoming stronger. And in that shift, growth becomes inevitable. Because the moment you choose to step into discomfort, you choose to step into the fuller version of yourself that has been waiting beyond fear, beyond hesitation, and beyond the limits you once believed defined you. Here is the expansion of keynote number 5 into approximately 500 words written seamlessly, without headings and without an ending sentence. True fulfillment is never found in what is easy, familiar, or convenient. It is found in the moments when you choose progress, even when comfort begs you to stay still. Fulfillment comes from knowing you are growing, stretching, and honoring your potential instead of settling into what merely feels good in the moment. Ease can make life pleasant, but progress makes life meaningful. When people choose comfort as their primary goal, life becomes about maintenance instead of movement. Days blur together. Achievements feel empty. Even success can start to feel hollow when it no longer challenges you. Progress, on the other hand, creates aliveness. It demands intention. It forces you to wake up with purpose, knowing that today requires something more from you than yesterday did. That demand is not a burden, it is a privilege. Progress asks you to trade certainty for possibility. It requires you to step forward without guarantees, to act without full confidence, and to trust that growth will meet you on the way. This is where fulfillment is born, not in the outcome, but in the effort. Not in the reward, but in the realization that you are capable of more than you once believed. Each step forward reinforces your self-respect. Each challenge met strengthens your identity. Choosing progress also reshapes how you experience failure. When comfort is the goal, failure feels threatening. When growth is the goal, failure becomes feedback. It becomes part of the process instead of proof of inadequacy. Fulfilled people are not those who avoid mistakes, but those who refuse to let mistakes define their limits. They understand that progress is rarely linear, but always valuable. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are moving forward, even when the path is uncomfortable. That confidence does not rely on validation or approval. It comes from alignment, from living in a way that matches your inner standards instead of external expectations. Fulfillment grows when your actions reflect who you want to become, not who you have been. Comfort often promises happiness but delivers stagnation. Progress promises challenge but delivers meaning. One numbs you, The other awakens you. One asks you to protect yourself. The other asks you to believe in yourself. Over time, the difference becomes undeniable. Fulfillment is not the absence of struggle, it is the presence of purpose. Every time you choose progress over ease, you cast a vote for your future self. You build momentum, you expand your limits, you create a life that feels earned rather than given. Fulfillment is not a destination you arrive at. Once everything feels safe, it is a state you experience when you are actively becoming, growing, and evolving beyond yesterday's version of yourself, choosing progress again and again, even when comfort tries to pull you back into a smaller life. True fulfillment is not found in what feels easy or familiar, but in the decision to move forward when everything inside you wants to stay where it is. Comfort offers relief, but it does not offer meaning. It softens the edges of life, but it dulls the sense of purpose that comes from growth. Fulfillment emerges when you choose progress, when you decide that becoming more matters more than feeling safe, and when you measure your life not by how little you struggle, but by how deeply you live. Progress demands effort, and effort creates engagement. When you are growing, you are present. You are challenged. You are aware. Each step forward requires intention, and intention gives life direction. This is why people who constantly seek comfort often feel restless or unfulfilled even when everything appears fine. Their lives may be stable, but their spirit feels stagnant. Progress, however, creates momentum. It gives you something to rise toward, something that pulls you out of routine and into purpose. Choosing progress over ease also changes how you see yourself. Every time you push beyond what is comfortable, you prove that you are capable of more. That proof builds self-respect. It strengthens identity. Fulfillment is deeply connected to knowing that you did not betray your potential, that you did not shrink your dreams to fit your fears. Even when progress is slow, the act of moving forward creates a sense of alignment between who you are and who you are becoming. Ease often promises happiness, but it rarely delivers lasting satisfaction. Comfort removes friction, but friction is what sharpens growth. Without challenge, life becomes repetitive. Days feel productive but empty. Achievements feel smaller because they required little from you. Progress, on the other hand, demands focus, resilience, and courage. It asks you to show up fully, and in doing so, it rewards you with a deeper sense of fulfillment that comfort can never provide. When progress becomes your priority, failure loses its power. Mistakes are no longer threats, they are teachers. Discomfort becomes a signal, not a stop sign. You stop asking how to avoid difficulty and start asking how to expand through it. This shift transforms your relationship with fear. Fear no longer controls your choices. It simply accompanies you as you move forward. Fulfillment is built in moments when no one is watching. When you choose discipline over convenience, growth over ease, and long-term purpose over short-term relief. It grows every time you take responsibility for your potential instead of waiting for circumstances to change. It is not loud or dramatic. It is steady and deeply satisfying. A life shaped by progress feels earned. It carries meaning because it required courage. Comfort may keep you relaxed, but progress makes you proud. And in the end, the deepest fulfillment comes from knowing that you chose to evolve, to stretch, and to become more than you were yesterday, again and again, even when it would have been easier to stay exactly the same.